Hello, everyone, and welcome back to From the Stands College Game Day Show. It is week 4, and alongside me again for the 4th week in a row, we have Mr. Andy Hopper to my left, Mr. Tom Scavetta to my right. We'll jump into the weekly recap because there were some exciting games this week. Andy, your team took a loss, but to a very, very good team. Besides that, what games were you watching this weekend?
Yeah, loss to a very good team where we turned the ball over 5 fucking times. Quarterback throws 4 interceptions, gets benched. Defense actually did not look terrible. Made Drew Aller look very pedestrian, which was great. But other than my team sucking, I think the game that is easiest to bring up, and it was the game with 9 million people watching it, would be the Colorado State game. Was fucking up until like 2 a.m, I think, watching that game. Colorado 43, Colorado State 35. It's just all the hype leading up to this game with Jay Norvell's comments and Deion's response, and the media darling that Deion is, on how much coverage this game was getting, for everyone thinking, oh, Colorado's just going to beat the piss out of them. It's not going to be close at all. Travis Hunter gets hurt. They go down. They have to crawl all the way back. They get it to double overtime, and they pick up a win. They're 3-0, and now they're staring Oregon in the face as 21-point underdogs. So we'll see. But that was it was an incredible game. It is. I know the media and everybody has been shoving Colorado down our throats, but I genuinely do like Deion Sanders. I think he's a good dude. I think he's a really good coach. So it's been really fun to watch Colorado so far.
I agree. What about you, Tommy?
Florida State barely surviving Boston College. Fraudulent in the Week 3 game. They beat them by 2 points. Eagles outscored the Noles 13-0 in the fourth quarter. Seminoles led 31-10 at one point, foreshadowing some predictions later in our Shots and Chasers segment. Alabama beats USF unconvincingly 17-3. This is a horrible example of the Alabama football product. This is a question that needs to be asked again. Who is your starting quarterback? I know Saban said they're going back to Milroe. They should have stuck with Milroe. This week, Ty Simpson and Tyler Buchner were atrocious. I could have told Nick Saban that Tyler Buchner is atrocious. How about Missouri, man? 30-27 over Kansas State, 61-yard kick to end the game. Cook did phenomenal leading his team down the field. Go Tigers. And yeah, man, Notre Dame, another win. Undefeated 4-0. Very excited for our 2023 Heisman hopeful, Sam Hartman, this week.
Yeah, you guys are indeed rolling, and you covered all the games. I think everyone probably had every single one of those games on. But yeah, FSU looked very shaky on defense. They gave up 450 yards of offense to BC, who's, I'm pretty sure, their starting quarterback from last year dipped into the transfer portal, so they got a new kid there, and he still puts up 450 yards on a top 10 team on a defense that's supposed to be pretty good in FSU's defense. So yeah, those late 21 points, I believe they scored all of them straight on the Noles. That made it a little sketchy there for Noles fans at the end. Like you said, Tom, Alabama looked absolutely god awful. I was watching that one locally, and I was just shocked. I've not been speechless in many games, but they looked so bad. Not even just the quarterback situation looking bad. No grit, no determination. They look so soft. So one of the worst Alabama looks I've ever seen in a game, in at least the past decade or so. So not sure what's happening there. I'm sure Saban chewed him up. And then yeah, Colorado State. Yeah, Andy, like you said, you don't want to feel like you're just hyping this team up because the media is doing it. What is there not to love at this point? I mean, yeah, they're cocky, but I mean, Deion's still throwing in, a little bit of humble quotes out there every once in a while. He had his mom, I believe, in the locker room post game. Travis Hunter, I don't know if you guys saw him. He went live on, I guess he does a thing with Bleacher Report, saying, hey, this is just the game of football. Sometimes you take a hard hit. Just gonna keep working. Like, you can't not like this team right now, despite all the cockiness. So Yeah, those are three great games, and looks like all three of us watched all that action. We'll move into our first segment then, and it is Come On Man. This is an ESPN segment that has officially been knocked. I attributed this in the notes, the pre-show notes, you guys, as a Charles Barkley quote, but it is in fact Chris Carter, who is no longer on the show. So you know what? We're going to take it over here, because people do not like that it is gone here. And I'll throw a little Chris Carter "Come On Man" emoji on the screen every time it gets a "Come On Man." Our first one here, we have recruits. This is according to Ohio State's athletic director. Recruits are now demanding money for school visits. He had to testify in front of Congress. This is a quote. I mean, you're pretty much on the hook for exactly what you say if you're testifying in front of Congress. So I assume this has to be 100% true that this is happening. And if it's happening at Ohio State, it's happening other places as well. Andy, I'll start with you on this one. Is this not a big deal, or is this a come on, man?
I mean, yeah. I think if you're a recruit asking for $5,000 to go visit a school, I think it's a come on, man. I mean, I'm all for getting your bag and everybody getting paid, but just to go visit, you need $5,000 to go visit Ohio State. By the way, like one of the best facilities in the country, one of the best programs in the country. I don't know if I'm believing there are recruits, tons of recruits asking for $5,000 to go visit these big time programs, like some small run of the mill school, sure. Um, but man, I don't know. It's just to me like it's the amount of people now that you have around these kids that are just looking for a profit and looking just to make a quick buck. I think is um, one of the things behind situations like this. Just seeing how much these guys are getting in NIL money, which again, name, image, likeness. It's your name, image, likeness. Profit off that shit as much as possible. I totally get that. But I just think there are certain situations where some of these athletes may be or maybe not be getting taken advantage of by certain people in their lives that are trying to, latch on and uh, let them take them where they want them to go. But yeah, I'll give this a come on, man. I don't know. I mean, hope I hope it's not true, but like I don't think a guy like Gene Smith would go in front of Congress and lie about something like this. Just as how long he's been in the game, how respected he is in the athletics community, especially the college athletics community. Some of his comments, man, were a little eye opening. I think they gave him a scale of 1 to 10. It's like, how confident are you in the NCAA to govern all this NIL stuff by itself? And he said like a 4. Doesn't make me feel great about the competence of the NCAA, which again, I don't think anybody should feel great about the competence of the NCAA. There have been multiple instances of their where they show their incompetency, but basically going to he thinks the NCAA needs help from the federal government to police and regulate this NIL stuff. So basically, he wants the national NIL standard and NIL agent registration, standard NIL contracts, prohibition of inducements, an NIL public registry, maintain the amateur model of athletics, and strong enforcement measures. As he put it, protections need to be put in place. So I am in agreement that there probably does need to be some type of regulation on this kind of stuff, but I don't know, just this whole $5,000 just to go visit is what I'm really dwelling on, because that's blowing my fucking mind.
All right, Tom.
With Andy there, I mean, you shouldn't be asking for $5,000 to visit a school. That's just the way it is in life. So I don't really see the purpose behind it. I mean, I'm with Gene Smith here on this. I would be unhappy. This does sound legit. There's a lot of this. There's a lot of these stories that get fluffed up and blown out of proportion. But yeah, this is totally a come on, man, uh, moment here. I don't get it, and it sets a bad standard for other schools too, right? Other schools below Ohio State, like you're talking about an Oregon or a Cal or Texas Tech, schools like that, right? They could start pulling this too, and then it becomes a whole chain reaction. So some may argue, oh, we should have kept it under the rug and just try to hit what in this digital media world that we live in, it's virtually impossible to do something like this without getting it recognized in a negative or positive light. So yeah, this is totally come on, man, for me.
Yeah, I'm also in agreement. We're getting a triple come on man here. The most baffling part of this to me is just the amount. Like 5K is such a petty amount of money to risk. Like you said, Andy, this is Ohio State we're talking about, not some G5 team that's trying to grease some pockets to get a 5-star to their team. This is 5K to go to a team that is a perennial favorite for the CFP playoff every year and will likely put you on the path to the NFL. And you want 5K for what? Like a new Prada belt and a Gucci bag that's gonna go bad in 2 years? I mean,
Listen, if if your family is cannot afford to get you there, then yeah, absolutely. Ask for some cash to cover the trip. But that is really the only thing I can think of you'd be asking for
right.
money for.
I think they, at least I know what was going around during Arch Manning's visit to Texas because that was covered pretty in depth. I'm pretty sure the hotels are paid for, all the food is paid for, and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
So, I mean, this one to me is just a little ridiculous, and I am giving it also a come on, man. Our second one here, we have the Pac-2 and Midwest Conference potentially promoting a conference relegation approach to the conference realignment that's going on over there. They still have no idea what the hell they're going to do. For those not in the know, the relegation system is pulled from European soccer essentially. If you do really bad, you move into Division Two. If you're the best in Division Two, or however many teams, top two, let's say, you then next season move up into Division One. Um, it's an interesting concept, I guess. They're throwing everything at the board and seeing what sticks. Uh, Andy, what do you think about this one?
I love it. You have nobody left. If you're Oregon State and Washington State, let's just start throwing some shit at the wall and see if it sticks. So basically, they want to team up with the Mountain West. And I think their goal is like 14 teams or something like that, or maybe up to 16. Essentially, have 7 or 8 teams in each in the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. And yeah, it works just like the Premier League or European football, where I think it's like the bottom 3, or well, however they want to do it. They could do the bottom 2, they could do the last team swaps with the best team or whatever. It would, so you'd still retain all of your, money and assets that you're getting in the Pac-12 for, not just football, like the NCAA tournament for basketball, whatever else, TV deals, stuff like that. You're retaining automatic qualifying spots for tournaments as well, and retaining revenue distribution from the college football playoff. So there's a lot to be gained here from not just Oregon State and Washington State, but these teams in the Mountain West that have been in the G5 for so long that now have an opportunity to move up and, be one of the big boys, albeit maybe it's one season at a time and you're getting relegated again. But I think it's a cool idea. It's fun. I don't know. I'm in on it.
All right, Tom.
I'm not.
Of course.
This just shows how
Traditionalist Tom.
terrible the Pac-12 is now. Pac-2. Yeah, if you got to format this like a soccer league, this is just embarrassing. Just fold. I mean, I don't want to watch that. I don't find it fun or interesting. I mean, disband. Just disband. I mean, for me, there's really nothing more to say. This is football. This is not soccer. Um, I, I don't like it. Yes, there's a lot to be gained. I see the other side of the argument. I'm just not. I just think they're making things a little bit too complicated here. If they wanted to do a merger and form like a new conference, fine. But the fact that they want to do 2 conference relegation style is definitely alarming. But prove me wrong.
Yeah, for me,
Help me out here, Brian.
I I don't know if this qualifies as a come on man territory, but it's teetering on. Come on, really? I mean, I'm a big soccer guy. It's my second favorite sport behind college football. The relegation system works when you have, let's take England for example, over 100 teams in the different leagues that you can shuffle in and out. At 14 teams, I don't know how viable this is. Um, I think at that point you can only relegate and promote one team per year, which isn't much.
So
It's not a big enough bone that you're throwing out there for the Division 2 teams. I think at the very least you need two and two, two go up, two go down.
that's what they want to do.
Yeah, and to achieve that, I think you gotta be looking at least 18 to 20 teams. And the Pac-2 is, like the new name says, is down to two. So they're going to, how many is it? Mountain West is at what, 12?
So that there's as of right now between the Mountain West and the Pac-2, there's a total of 14 teams. This proposal for the relegation, they have it with 16 total, so 8 in each league. This article mentions maybe South Dakota State or North Dakota State would make sense regional wise, having them move up. So basically, one of their like another one of their big things here is to create interesting high stakes matchups for fan experience and television purposes. So previous season results determine a pecking order to arrange matchups such as a week 1 rematch of the previous year's Pac-12 championship game, week 1 game between 2 teams promoted from the Mountain West to the Pac-12 and 2 teams relegated from the Pac-12 to the Mountain West, a bracket buster weekend in early to mid-November where pairings are determined 2 weeks prior and are based off of current standings with the intent on arranging compelling crossover matchups. The entire season builds up to a crescendo of a final week that features 3 games. A relegation game between the 6th and 7th place teams in the Pac-12. The loser is relegated to the Mountain West. The 8th place finisher in the regular season is automatically relegated. So 2 teams going down. A promotion game between the 2nd and 3rd place teams in the Mountain West. The winner is promoted to the Pac-12. The regular season champion of the Mountain West is automatically promoted to the Pac-12. So 2 up, 2 down. Pac-12 championship game where the winner has a significant chance to advance to the newly expanded college football playoff. Remember, folks, this would be in a world of a 12-team college football playoff. So the Pac-12 would have an automatic qualifier.
Yeah, see,
with the conference champion.
I don't know. For me, this doesn't work with that little. They need ingesting the Dakotas, or the Dakota
That
states.
doesn't
I'll
like
say.
do it for you. I get that.
Well,
Yeah.
no. I like that addition, but you still need. They need to grease the palms a little bit more. You need 2 more,
Right.
at least decent teams to get yourself to 18 minimum, and then I'm liking it. So I'm on the fence. I'll give it a come on, really. But no Chris Carter, come on, man, for this one. And then our last story here, we have Lincoln Riley has suspended a USC beat writer, basically for doing his job. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to put it. Andy, let's start with you on this one. Is this come on, man, or is he justified in this?
No, this might be the biggest come on man of all 3 that we have. Lincoln Riley is Charmin Ultra Soft. This is baby shit soft. There is a new beat writer. His name is Luca Evans, who was just suspended by the USC football program from covering the team because apparently you can police who writes an article about you. So he does not work for USC. He's a first-year USC beat writer at the Orange County Register. He used a quote in an article, a very positive article, I would like to point out, that he wrote about a freshman running back, Quentin Joyner. But he did not use the quote that the team wanted him to use. So that pissed Riley off. Also, apparently saying hello to players and staffers he saw around campus and emailing various athletic department officials to introduce himself as the new guy in town is also a glaring offense in Lincoln Riley's eyes. So they're blocking his access to the team for 2 weeks. The Orange County Register reported Riley took issue with Evans' rather charming profile of Joyner, in which he detailed an innocuous quip between Joyner and teammate Braylon Shelby. So yeah, absolutely a come on, man. This guy, I can't tell what the guy did wrong
Right.
besides use the quote that he liked uh, in his article that he was writing. This is pathetic and it's an absolute joke.
All right, Tom.
Well, I got two come on mans. One, my
Ooh.
buddies are blowing up my computer. I'm getting texts through my computer right now that Trent Williams just punched a player on the Giants and did not get ejected.
What?
But anyway, this one is definitely a come on man, in my opinion. I don't think, and again, 1 and 2 aren't. Two is the best one, in my opinion. It's not like a come on man, like you were saying, Brian. Three, absolutely. Lincoln Riley spending 2 weeks a new beat writer just for covering the team. He doesn't fit that cookie cutter mold that you like. Oh, I'm sorry, he's trying to be creative. I'm sorry, he's trying to do his job. Uh, for somebody, I mean, let's face it, we're all content creators, right? We're all in this media world, the sports media world. Um, beat writers put a lot of hard work into stuff. Sometimes they ask dumb questions and stupid questions and get the team mad, and I get it. The team has to withhold information from you. You can't just suspend somebody. Like, is that even like a written thing with the university? Like, can they actually like take action into that? I mean,
They
there's
could
no
take
way.
his press pass away for sure.
Right.
Right.
But like I don't think they could stop him from buying a ticket to the game and going and sitting in the stands.
Come on now.
And just
Like,
yelling to the players.
Yeah.
Can I get a quote?
Or like what he can't
maybe that's why.
or he could watch it on TV and write a story on the game from his laptop like at home.
Well,
Just weird, man.
Yeah.
you think Lincoln Riley would be more focused on his team's defense, right, than beat reporters, but apparently not.
Yeah. For me, this is a pretty big come on, man, as well. My favorite part of this is that besides the quote thing that Andy brought up, which, like you said, was a positive quote. I don't know why there'd be any issues with it. Part of the no that Lincoln Riley said led to this was that this is just ridiculous to say. He's in trouble for also saying hello to players and staffers he saw around campus and emailing various athletic department officials to introduce himself as the new guy in town. I don't know. I mean, that just seems like standard protocol for a new beat writer.
Trying to be a nice guy. Like, what
right?
the fuck?
And all out of nowhere, out of the blue, he's suspended. But the blowback has been pretty quick on Lincoln Riley. He's now sure anytime it gets brought up to say, "Oh, it's only 2 weeks." Like he's teaching this youngin' a lesson to stay in line. But this is just the entire situation is so ridiculous. I think Tom said it best. Focus on your defense instead of defending against freshman beat writers for the local paper. That will wrap up. Come on, man. And we'll jump into our quick little parlay party here. We all throw some parlays each week into the mix. Only 2 requirements, minimum 5 picks, and minimum plus 1,000 payout. Got to get a little bit of cash there. Andy, we'll start with you. I should say none of us hit again last week. We're still riding high on Tom's from week 1.
Tom's that none of us actually won any money on.
Yeah. So week 3 here, Andy. Give us your parlay.
So my parlay for this week, Rutgers plus 24.5. Maryland Rutgers plus 24.5 at Michigan. Michigan has yet to put any of those sorry ass teams away. I mean, obviously they beat them. They beat the shit out of the teams, but they didn't. They haven't covered. God damn it! This is personal for me. Fucking 24 and a half. You're giving me 3 touchdowns and a field goal. Yeah, give me the fucking Shiano men and Rutgers. All right, Maryland minus 7.5 at Michigan State. Michigan State fucking sucks. We talked about it last week, fellas. Um, the interim head coach had an opportunity to prove he was like that he could hang, and yeah, Michael Penix Jr. said, "Hold my dick," and absolutely ran it down their throats. I expect this Maryland offense to have a big day against Michigan State. Mississippi, Ole Miss +7 at Alabama. I am scared of this one. It seems like a little bit of an overreaction, but Ole Miss has looked pretty good to start the year, guys. And I am not sold on the Tide. Again, Jalen Milroe back. What was the point of taking him out against USF if he's just coming right back to start this game? Like, I'm not going to pretend to know more than Nick Saban because I don't. But it's one of the few times that I've questioned what the fuck that guy's doing. Secondly, or not secondly, this is the fifth part, whatever, dude. Oh no, I think I cut off. Wait, no, I'm good. Okay, sorry. Oregon State at Washington State, Pac-2, over 58.5. 2 awesome offenses. I like them to score a lot of points. And then lastly, North Carolina minus 6.5. They are hosting Mississippi State. Mississippi State, not good. South Carolina impressed me actually against Georgia. So those are my
All right,
picks.
Tom, any on there that you don't like? Or are you riding with this one?
I like all the picks. I wouldn't. I see like Andy's suspicions. I wouldn't throw money on Ole Miss +7, but I could definitely see it happening. If you want to increase your odds, it's worth a shot. Sometimes you got to throw in that one that you're not so sure about. You could reap the benefits at the end of it. So, yeah, I like every single one for Andy here. I don't think Michigan blows out Rutgers by more than 24. I don't see it happening. So, yeah, that was a good parlay.
I like the card as well. The only thing that I question a little bit is just I question Rutgers football's existence just in general. So anytime they're on a card, you gotta question it. But yeah, I mean, Michigan hasn't. It seems like they know that they're in a good spot as they have been the last couple of years, and they're not trying to overextend themselves, which is just such a Jim Harbaugh way to just approach a season to march towards a college football playoff. So I can see those points going in Rutgers' favor and that one hitting there. So I do like the card here. Tommy, that'll bring up your parlay as well. Do you have another winner for us?
I sure hope so. First up, Oklahoma covering 13.5 at Cincinnati. Again, Luke Fickle's not there anymore. Desmond Ritter's not there. Jerome Ford is gone. It's Emory Jones at quarterback. He's not good, guys. 13.5. I really like that line. Yeah, Dylan Gabriel's really impressed me so far this season, and I really like the Sooners in that one. That's minus 115. Colorado +21 at Baylor. At Oregon, sorry, not Baylor. I don't know why I said that. A ranked game, one of our many ranked games this week. That's minus 110. I think they cover. I don't see them getting blown out. Have they gotten blown out of a game yet? Have they lost? No. So, yeah, I do think they hang with Oregon here despite being on the road. I don't know if they win, but they definitely hang with them. UCLA, Utah over 52.5. This is the one I'm slightly concerned about because Cam Rising may or may not play his first game of the season. He has not been activated as of yet, although there are rumors he is expected to be activated prior to the game to start. If Nate Johnson starts, I don't like this one, but I'm going to roll the dice and throw this in at minus 110. UCLA brings in 5-star freshman quarterback Dante Moore. Again, 2 teams in the soon-to-be known as former Pac-12 can score a lot of points. Historically, these two teams score points, and they're playing at Utah as well. Texas, minus 14 and a half at Baylor. This is minus 115, and this is leg number 4. Quinn Ewers, Heisman hopeful, Xavier Worthy. That offense is phenomenal, and Baylor has not looked great this season. So I like them to cover by 2+ touchdowns at minus 14 and a half. Clemson money line against Florida State, plus 106. Why? Well, let me tell you this. We talked about Florida State's borderline choke job last week, number 1. The Tigers have won 8 straight matchups against the Seminoles. So I'm not so sure I'm buying Florida State here this week, winning back-to-back road games against, 2 ACC opponents. Ohio State Notre Dame, under 55 and a half. This clocks in at minus 110. This is the 6th and final leg of my parlay. The reason why I put this under 55 and a half, Notre Dame's defense is phenomenal. They held CJ Stroud and the Ohio State offense last year to just 21 points. So I really think this will be a lower scoring game than people think, especially with it being in South Bend and Kyle McCord at quarterback as well. So I really like that to go under. Total of plus 4909, $10 to win 490.99. So 491.
All right, Andy, you like that one?
Yeah, Clemson's not going to beat Florida State though. They suck. The one good team they've played was Duke, and they looked way better than them. And they played 2 nobodies after this that they've beat up on. So sure, yeah, they could. I also don't like Dabo at all, so I'm biased against them. So no, they very well could win. It's one of those games where you look at it and you're like, okay, why is Florida State only favored by 2.5? What do they know that I don't know? And typically I'm wrong about a lot of stuff. So Tom will probably be right. Clemson will probably win. I think Florida State has a bounce back. But Tom, you're right. I think you said Clemson's won like 8 in a row. They're also 19-1 straight up their last 20 games at home. This is a home game for Clemson. It's a conference game. You're an underdog, which they haven't been used to being the past few years, especially against Florida State. So I'm excited. I think it'll be a good game. But that is the one that I worry about. But I mean, Tom is the only one out of us that has hit one of these yet. So I
Very
guess
true.
I can't talk shit until I do.
Very true. But yeah, that's the same exact one that concerns me. Like you said, because of the opposition so far, they've looked bad while playing bad teams. So it's not like they're losing and they had a neutral site game against Georgia to open the season here or anything. They lost to Duke 28-7. Duke is a very good team.
Duke is ranked, guys.
Yeah, but they still shouldn't be blowing out Clemson 28-7 and just completely controlling the game. And then they play Charleston Southern and FAU. Whoop-de-doo. They're just not. They're not as good as they were in the past. I mean, once Trevor Lawrence left this team, things just became very disjointed. And it's not like they don't have talent on the team. But yeah, for me, I think FSU recovers from the little scare they had last week and does beat Clemson. So I think that one might wreck the parlay here. And then we'll move on to mine, which you guys can eviscerate after I quickly run through them. It is also a 6-teamer here, starting with FSU minus 5.5 over Clemson. Like I just said, I don't trust Clemson at all. They've faced no one difficult, or at least had no success against anyone difficult this season. Dabo just looks a little lost out there. Klubenik doesn't look as good, nearly as good as Jordan Travis does at the helm. I think FSU is just better all around. And I sold some points here, so minus 5.5. Colorado, I bumped this up a little bit. I bought some points up to plus 26 against Oregon, and I'm calling that the Travis Hunter tax because they lose their best player on both sides of the ball. I don't know what that's going to do to them, but I still think. Did you both take Colorado this week? I saw them on one.
No, they're not on mine.
Okay, well, yeah,
They're on top.
Plus 21.
I still think Tommy is safe with the plus 21. But I just want to sprinkle, just little teaspoon sprinkle, as Andy likes to say, sprinkle it just a little bit. 5 extra points there for Colorado, just to be a little bit more safe. Third, Duke minus 16.5 over UConn. Bought some points here as well. I think UConn's really bad, but the line is a little high for me. Riley Leonard at the helm looks really, really good. I mean, I'm seeing shades of Daniel Jones here in the way that Mike Elko is running this team and running Riley Leonard. They just look like a really hell of a team this year, is what I'll say.
I'm all hot and bothered. You keep talking about Daniel Jones.
The number 4, maybe the only surprise on here, I'm going Georgia Tech money line over Wake Forest. Haynes King is one of the best QBs in the nation right now. This is not you heard it here first, but not many people are talking about it yet. Transfers to Georgia Tech, they no longer run that atrocious triple option there. They do actually have real offense, boys and girls. And I do think that they can take down this Wake Forest team, and you get plus 160 on that one to bump that pay up out. Tom, you like this one? Notre Dame plus 7.5 versus Ohio State. The line is 3, but I bought a few points just to be safe. I think they are very safe. I think you could probably bet them to minus 3 because I think they win this game straight up. I know you love to hear that. But I just want the points.
I like them as well.
I want the points there for safety because we're 2 weeks through and I got 2 L's on my parlays. So want to try and assure a winner here. Then lastly, Texas minus 12.5 over Baylor. Bought an even tinier sprinkle here, 1.5, or maybe it was 2 points. I'm not sure what the line is right this second compared to when I made it. Bought 1.5 over Baylor. Baylor, just really bad team. Texas running on all cylinders. That is the 6-pack right there, boys. Andy, Tom, tear it apart. Is there anything you don't like there?
Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, I would have had a little more confidence in Notre Dame only because they're home, but obviously I'm biased, so I can't really argue with that. Georgia Tech, I could see that as an upset. Sam Hartman's gone. We'll see what Wake Forest can do. ACC game; those are always close for the most part. All the others, I actually like. I don't know if I would put them on my card as well, but I do.
don't do it this week.
That's the nicest way to say if your bets fucking suck. Well, I wouldn't bet them, but I like that you are.
As for my card, I don't know.
I wouldn't be caught fucking dead putting any money on these picks, but I really like that you did, Brian.
All right.
What I actually meant by this was I won't put money on that as well, similar to what I said about Andy's before. But
okay. Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna agree with Andy that you're just being a little nice on my card here. Andy, tear my card apart. What's losing me this parlay?
I'm just a little bit worried about Georgia Tech because anytime I even see their logo, read the name, Brian, like I just think triple option. But
Yep.
Texas A&M transfer Haynes King actually doing all right for the Jackets. So I'll be rooting for you, my friend, but that is the one that worries me a little bit.
All right. Yeah, I agree. That's definitely the riskiest one for sure. I feel like, but the money is just
one of those in there.
Yeah, the money just looked too good in terms of potential upsets. There's a lot of big spreads this week that once you get high up there in the points, you can't take a money line because even though it looks juicy, you're probably going to get done in. But that will conclude our parlay party and move us into our shots and chasers, our games of the week. Starting off at noon, we have the game that we just talked about ad nauseum here. Clemson taking on Florida State. We've got differing opinions here, everyone, on this game, though. So, Andy, we'll start with you. Who's winning this one?
I got to keep it consistent with what I said earlier. I think Florida State wins the game. But like I said, like looking at it only being a 2.5 point spread, that makes me very nervous because it just feels like, oh, how does Florida State not win this game by 3 points? Like, but you're going on the road. Clemson is still a very tough environment. They don't suck, like I said earlier. Like, obviously, I was being dramatic, but there hasn't been a lot that Clemson has done this year through, again, only 3 weeks, that I can sit there and look and be like, oh, yeah, I'm super impressed by that. You're one game against a good Duke team. I'm not trying to take anything away from Duke, but that was kind of my point. The one good team you played, you put up 7 points or whatever it was. And then you should be beating Charleston Southern and whoever the fuck else. It's the nobody FAU actually, who Illinois is playing this weekend. But I'm going to take Florida State. For me, Jordan Travis is a better quarterback. He's a more proven quarterback than Cade Klubnik. I'm not saying Klubnik couldn't get to that level, but at the moment, I like Florida State. I like the quarterback. I think he's got better weapons around him on offense as well. So give me the Seminoles in this matchup.
All right, Tom.
The Noles barely squeaked by Boston College last week. Um, they're 3-0, barely. Clemson, bad loss to Duke week one. They got that out of the way. I don't like Clemson. You guys know that. I mean, you guys have known that for years now.
Yeah.
The key for me is stopping Trey Benson in the run game and then seeing if they can get pressure on Travis because Keon Coleman's an outstanding wide receiver. Johnny Wilson will make his bread. Can they protect Klubnik? Jared Verse needs to get after it for the Seminoles. Clemson's offense revolves around Will Shipley and Phil Maffa, the running backs. So Clemson has won the last 7 matchups. FSU has not won at Clemson since 2013. I think this game is an upset alert. I don't see Florida State, after their performance on the road against Boston College last week, getting by Clemson after that. So for me, it's not what you did 3 weeks ago. It's what have you done lately? And I think Florida State is an upset alert.
Ooh. Yeah, this is just such a weird one because of the way the Vegas line has gone, and I think a lot of that is attributed to what happened with the Boston College game last week. Because I think before that game, you could see this one early. It was already on the card, at least on DraftKings, and I think it was -6 or 7 to start off with. Jordan Travis did take a big hit and miss some series, so the offense was a little, I don't want to say lackadaisical, but they played it safe. At that point they were already up a big amount, so you play it safe. Travis is looking fine to play this entire game, so I think that'll be fine. Tommy, like you said, Jared Verse, kid is an absolute animal, and I think Klubnik, I think he's going to be rattled every single play because Verse is an absolute animal, and I don't think his O-line is trustworthy enough at this point in time. FSU is just a better team all around. They've played actual competition in a very good LSU team. They stomped them. And Clemson, on the opposite side of the card, hasn't really played anyone. And when they did play a decent team, they got stomped themselves. So I'm going with the Noles here. Next up, in the chaser slot for this noon time slot, we have Cincinnati taking on Oklahoma. Tom, this is on your parlay card, I believe, correct? So we'll start with you on this one.
It is. Well, as I mentioned before, Emory Jones transferring over from Florida. Luke Fickell is gone. This is not the same team. The Sooners looked really dominant last week. Dylan Gabriel with 5 touchdown passes. Jaleel Farouk is an interesting young receiver that I really happen to like a lot. Shout out LaGuardia Airport right now. Nick Anderson, 3 touchdown catches on 3 total receptions last week. 3 catches and 3 touchdowns. You can't have a better game than that, no? He's a good target, as well as Andrell Anthony and Drake Stoops. I mean, there's so many weapons for Gabriel to throw the rock to. And the Sooners defense had 5 picks. I believe Danny Stutzman returned 1 for a touchdown. And let's talk about the Bearcats for a second. They lost in overtime to Miami of Ohio. Awful. Jones was good running the football. He brings that dynamic, which can catch some defenders off guard. But the 2 interceptions, both his fault. It's just one of those games where it's like, why are you here? So I think Oklahoma covers easily. I think there's too much reliance on Ryan Montgomery in the backfield for the Bearcats in this game. Doesn't give the Bearcats enough possessions to cover. I don't think it's a absolute blowout, but I think the Sooners look really, really good and try to get back towards top 10 teams.
All right, Andy.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one for Cincinnati. What they do have, this is two top 15 offenses in the country so far, with both of them averaging over 530 yards of total offense through the first 3 weeks. Big thing for me is Cincinnati going to be able to get off the field on third downs? You have the Sooners first in the nation, converting 65.8% of their third downs. So if you're Cincinnati, this is a home game for them, so I will give them that. You'll have a little bit extra juice there hosting the ranked Sooners. It's still weird to see them in the Big 12, Cincinnati, that is. But I think Oklahoma gets the win here. I think Gabriel's just been fantastic to start the year. I mean, 358 yards passing per game for the Sooners, good for 6th in the country. Feels like they're just going to be a little bit too much for Cincinnati on Saturday.
Yeah, this is my biggest problem here. Besides, Oklahoma has the edge in talent, but we do see upsets. We saw Cincinnati in the playoffs very recently, but they've lost a lot of talent, and I think there's going to be a lot of nerves here. These teams fought so hard to basically leave the American and join the big boys club. They're now in the Big 12. This is a home game for them, and it's everywhere. They're already showing pictures of the Big 12 logo everywhere. This is a huge team, huge ranked team. I guess we can consider Oklahoma a blue chip school also. So you've got these historical teams now coming into your home that are just likely better than you in every single way, and you got to find a way to beat them. I like Satterfield. I think everyone has liked Cincinnati the last few years, what they've done as a team. They bring in good talent, but I don't think someone like Emory Jones is enough to keep them in the game here. Oklahoma's got Dylan Gabriel, who came from UCF. And if I had to pick of the two, I'm picking Dylan Gabriel 10 out of 10 times to lead his team to a win. And I think the most interesting aspect here for me, Oklahoma has opened their season against two of Cincinnati's old conference mates here in Tulsa and SMU. They've blown them out. Well, SMU wasn't quite a blowout, 28-11, but they blew out Tulsa as well. Cincy is on a little bit better level than them, but I still think it's an easy enough opponent for them to win handily here. So I'm taking the Oklahoma Sooners. Moving into 3:30. This is an exciting one, maybe the most exciting one on the card. Besides Tom, I know he's eyeing something in 7:30 that we'll get to in a second. Another game that he might like a little better, but as far as the nation goes, I think eyes are going to be all over this one at 3:30. We have Oregon taking on Deion Sanders and his Colorado Buffaloes, both ranked. Andy, ton of hype around this one again. Who do you like here?
Man, so two awesome offenses. We'll start off with that. The Oregon offense is averaging 58 points per game. Colorado's putting up 41. 418 yards through the air, good for 2nd in the country for the Buffaloes, to 357 for Bo Nix and the Ducks. That's good for 7. So you got two top 10 passing offenses. And Oregon, they can hurt you on the ground as well. Currently averaging 229 rush yards per game, and that is where I start to get a little worried for the Buffaloes, guys. They're giving up 467.7 total yards per game on defense. They're tied for 235th in the country. 265 passing yards a game. That's 217th. 195 rush yards per game. That's 217th. So you let Oregon get some rushing lanes, and this could get ugly, guys. They could be running all over you. They could be running all over you early. They're giving up 30 points a game on defense and 48%. Or they're only stopping teams on 48% of third down. So currently in those 5 statistics for defense, they are not ranked better than 204th in the country in any of those. So this defensive unit has some problems, and you're going up against an offensive line that not only has not given up a sack, they haven't given up a QB hit through 3 games. You give Bo Nix all day against this defense, he's going to absolutely light them up.
We wouldn't have said that 2 seasons ago.
No, absolutely would not have said that 2 seasons ago. I do still have confidence in the Colorado offense. I mean, they've showed us all year that they can put up points. So I think that'll be the only way they stay in this game is you just have to go out there and you got to basically score on every possession if you're Colorado. But I'm going to take Oregon.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, to Andy's point, Bucky Irvin averages 8 yards a carry for Oregon. So
Great name.
Jordan James has 5 touchdowns too. They have 1A and 1B. Shout out Bo Nix, man. I mean, we used to trash this guy on the show. I mean, let's be real here. 8 touchdowns to no picks. He completes just under 78% of his passes. Troy Franklin, really good, young, talented receiver, 3 touchdowns already. Gary Bryant Jr. is a big play threat who's awesome at route running. Trey Johnson, over the middle of the field, is very reliable at moving the chains. 3 touchdowns for him. And Trayshawn Holden, does that name sound familiar? Yeah, 2 touchdowns for him as well. So I really like what Oregon presents to the table. But the real question here is Oregon's offensive line against the Buffalo's defensive line. I think that's where the game is won. And I think Oregon is able to move people because once you get into Colorado's secondary, it's a bit scary back there. You know, you got Shiloh, you got Trevor Woods, you got Cameron Silmon Craig, Travis Hunter, who won't play this week or for a few weeks, I'd imagine. So, can the Buffaloes keep pace? Can Shadur Sanders continue to impress? Can he get the ball to Xavier Weaver and Jimmy Horn Jr.? That's the question for me. Again, this is an interesting one, but I do like Oregon to win anywhere between 10 to 13 points at home.
Yeah, see, that's the one. I'm just gonna say it straight up. I'm on Oregon as well. Not that the hype is ruining the approach by Colorado, but I just think the Oregon team has a lot more maturity in a football sense. Like, we were just laughing. Tom, you're right. We've destroyed Bo Nix and his performances in the past. But credit where credit is due. He's having a phenomenal season. And we saw shades of that last year as well. He just keeps improving. And it's at the point where, there is nothing to really make fun of him for anymore. He's a legitimate QB. He's a legitimate prospect. I don't know if NFL quality prospect, maybe in the later rounds. I can definitely see him going. I don't know about an NFL starter, but he's definitely good enough to will this Oregon team into the national title talk as the season goes on. But talking about the game itself, the biggest red flag for me is actually because of what happened last week and Colorado's defensive approach to the game. I think I dropped this in our group chat as the game was happening, but they dropped into what they were just calling the shell and claimed that they were concerned about giving up the big plays. So instead, they just let Colorado hit these little dinky passes for 1,000,000 yards on them and take them to the brink in double overtime, which, I mean, I understand you got beat, fairly frequently in your previous games with the deep ball, but I don't think you can't do that same thing against a team like Oregon. And now this Oregon team has a more competent offense and a more competent QB to hit those deep plays on you. So you can't play that scared. We saw how close Colorado State got last week. Colorado State didn't score more than 20 points the entirety of last season, and they dropped 35 on this Colorado defense. So this is why I bought a few extra points in my parlay here for Colorado. I think it doesn't get out of hand, but I don't think they have much of a shot to win this game outright. So I'm taking the Ducks as well. In the chaser slot for 3:30, we have Utah taking on UCLA, another ranked versus ranked matchup. Andy, we'll start with you. Who's taking this one?
So this is, I think this is going to be a sneaky good game. You got number 11 versus number 22. You got two undefeated teams here. Last year when these guys played, it was a 42-32 win for UCLA. Tom, you were talking about him earlier. Dante Moore under center, the true freshman for the Bruins, taking on the Utes, who Cam Rising's status still up in the air for this game. Hasn't really seemed to slow Utah down too much. If I'm being honest with you guys, I think they're still averaging over 500 yards per game. Yeah, they're 10th No, I'm sorry, that's UCLA. UCLA is averaging 534 yards per game. Utah, 106, only 170. Fuck, I was looking at the wrong stats. Yeah, they've struggled a little bit. Only 170 yards through the air. That's 202nd in the country. So obviously that's not great. You get a big boost back by Cam Rising, but I think it's Johnson, one of their backup guys that they bring in to run the ball. He's actually pretty electric. Utah's a really tough place to play. Don't know if you're getting Cam Rising. Give me UCLA in the upset. I'm going to take the Bruins. These are two defenses that are giving up 10 points a game combined. So I think we see a defensive battle, the under worth a look here, fellas.
Yeah, which is a really weird thing to say about a Pac-2 ranked Pac-12 teams
Exactly.
with star QBs. Tom, who's your pick in this one?
By the way, just an awesome expertise analysis there by Andy. Look, Dante Moore, former 5-star recruit, 7 touchdowns to 1 interception. This is the point of the show where I start to get people riled up, ladies and gentlemen. Carson Steele, their running back, is outstanding. Averages 8 yards a clip. He's really, really good. And their backup averages 9 yards per carry, by the way. TJ Harden, 233 rushing yards already. I like Sturdivant, their wide receiver. Logan Loya is solid too. Laiatu Latu is probably a day 2 pick in this year's NFL draft. 4 sacks already, leads the team. Utah has had quarterback issues. No Cam Rising yet. Tore his ACL in the Rose Bowl last year, right? May return this weekend. I'm not so sure. I'm not too high on the Utes right now. Utah has been relying on their running game rather than quarterback Nate Johnson. It's been somewhat of a rotation back there. He does provide some good pop in the running game, like Andy said, but Utah will have to rely on their defense in this game. Their defense performed very well against the Gators. They have Cole Bishop back there, who's solid, Lander Barton, and Levany Demooney. I think UCLA is going to score a lot of points in this game. So the problem, Cam Rising comes back and leads Utah to victory in front of the home crowd. How about that for a sell?
Oh, you had me there, Tom.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about this is the way that the line has moved in the past 36 hours. And I don't know if this is just because people love the line so much or if Vegas themselves have moved it. But it went from -3 to -4 2 days ago. And then just in the past 36 hours has shot up to Utah -6. So I think there are whispers that Cam Rising will be playing this game. You usually don't get a 2-point bump there in the span of a day and a half. Typically, maybe you'll get a point if something happens, but typically you're not getting 2 or 3 points unless some crazy news comes out. So I think someone knows a little something about Cam Rising returning. But yeah, you guys have covered this game very well. So I don't have much to add except that the running defenses here is going to be the matchup that I will watch most. Utah ranks 11th in FBS in rushing defense, and the Bruins right behind them at 12th, giving up only 65 yards and 69 yards respectively per game.
Nice.
Those are pretty good numbers, again, especially for a Pac-12 matchup where the offenses are typically high-flying. And the scoreboard runs wild. Dante Moore leads the nation with 19 and a quarter yards per completion. You know what's coming up. Those ratios. 7 touchdowns and only 1 interception through the first 3 games for the true freshman. That's pretty impressive. I know it's just the Pac-12. They haven't had very tough games yet at UCLA, but he's a true freshman. This kid is a stud. I think he's got a great career ahead of him. And he, 1 interception through 3 games, ice cold in his veins. And then the player to watch for me is Jaquindon Jackson, not just for his name, but because he has 300-yard rushing games already this season, and the Utes are 3-0 every time that happens. I'm going to be watching that closely. If he's eating it up on the ground, I think Utah takes this one away pretty handily if Mr. Cam Rising is back. And like I said, I'm following that Vegas line. It's moved. I think Cam Rising is going to be on the move, and onto the field in this game. So I'm taking the Utes to beat number 22 UCLA. Moving into 7:30, Tom, I know you got the notes for us on this one. It is Notre Dame taking on Ohio State. Um, do I even have to ask you who you're taking?
Well, it's interesting. I'm hopeful. You should not be comfortable when talking about this game this weekend. You should not be comfortable picking this game this weekend. There are a lot of factors to die down here, right? McCord has been improving each week. You know, a 20-point win against Indiana still lingering, but I mean, Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams, solid running backs. Brian's pick for Heisman. Marvin Harrison Jr., 300 yards and 3 scores. He'll be going up against Cam Hart, solid corner for Notre Dame upperclassman. I like their tight end Cade Stover. The only problem is he's a bit undersized. When he's going up against J.D. Bertrand and Jack Kaiser, can he get behind them? Can he make those contested catches? I'm not so sure. Bertrand, by the way, is out of concussion protocol. He's our best linebacker. He will play in this game. Emeka Egbuka with 3 touchdowns on the season. Tommy Eichenberg, that name rings a bell. Notre Dame fans, yep, because that's the younger brother of former Notre Dame offensive lineman Liam Eichenberg. He leads the Buckeyes in tackles. Older brother Liam now with the Miami Dolphins in the NFL. Tyleik Williams needs to diagnose Notre Dame's interior. Can Rocco Spindler and those guards, Zeke Correll, the center, can those guys push the pile forward for the nation's leading rusher? And Audric Estime, bro is a bull. Leads the nation in rushing with 521 yards. I know he's played an additional game than almost all these other teams since we did play in week 0, but 521 yards through 4 games and 5 touchdowns. Had 176 last week against Central Michigan. They have great wide receivers at Sam Hartman's disposal. Brian, you like ratios? How about this? Through 4 games, 13 touchdowns to no interceptions. I repeat, 13-0. Sounds a
Love
lot
it.
better than 7-1, right?
Love it.
And anyway, yeah, he looked good last week against Central Michigan. 1,000, almost 1,100 yards, 71% completion. Good young receivers too. Chris Tyree, Jaden Thomas, Tobias Merriweather had a big catch in this game. Tight end Holden Stays with 4 touchdowns. Solid guy. Also, Notre Dame also has former Ohio State defensive end Javante Jean Baptiste on the defensive line. He's a New Yorker. He is ready to go. He's been leading that defensive line this season. And then, of course, sophomore Ben Morrison had 5 picks as a freshman last year. I'm excited for him. There's 2 huge advantages for Notre Dame that falls with them in this game: the home crowd and the quarterback. Would you rather have Sam Hartman or would you rather have Kyle McCord? Um, and the fact that this game is being played at South Bend, the line is only -3. Give me Notre Dame. Go Irish. I think they pull the upset. We don't have a good reputation of beating teams at this caliber, but when you look as good as Sam Hartman has, and the one thing that has kept people from picking Notre Dame in these types of games is the quarterback position, guys. And now we finally have a great quarterback. And I think that proves to be a difference. It'll be very close, but I think the Irish pull it out.
All right, Andy.
Yeah, really nice matchup we have going on here this weekend. Game of the weekend, 6 versus 9. You know what I'm saying. So, like Tom, I mean, I don't know how much better I could say it. Tom really covered everything, but correct. Sam Hartman is greater than Kyle McCord. More experience, obviously, but he's also played better so far this season. McCord heating up a little bit, looking like he's getting more comfortable. But I am not 100% sold. Obviously, he's got Marvin Harrison Jr. to throw the ball to, and Emeka Egbuka has been really good for them as well, like Tom said, with 3 touchdowns. But don't sleep on the Irish. Over 500 yards of offense per game. Hartman's going 300 plus through the air per game. Audric Estime proven to be one of the best running backs in the league. And the Irish as a team are averaging over 200 yards on the ground. The Buckeye defense only allowing 83 yards on the ground and only giving up 6.7 points per game so far on the year. Can they do that against this Notre Dame offense that's averaging 46 points a game on the year? I don't think so. Give me Notre Dame at home. I'm riding with my boy Tommy, and I love to see Buckeye tears.
I think we all do, as well as Michigan tears. I know Tom especially loves those. Yeah, Tom, you covered pretty much everyone I wanted to, as well, except for one. And I'm going to ask you a question because it may be the deciding factor in who I pick here. Will Cam Hart be marking Marvin Harrison Jr. this weekend?
Will he be defending him?
Correct.
He should be. It's going to be either him or Ben Morrison. So I think Cam Hart will get a matchup. He does travel. He is a traveling corner, if that helps there. Again,
Okay.
he's a veteran.
Well,
Yeah.
I've just shown my hand. Then I'm going with Notre Dame because I love what Cam Hart is doing. I think he's one of the best shutdown corners in all of college football, and he's got the size to tussle here with Marvin Harrison Jr. Can you take Harrison Jr. out of the game completely? No, I don't know if there's any cornerbacks that I can think of in college football right now that can. Give him a complete challenge throughout the entire game. But I think he's good enough to limit his production. Harrison, he's like a human Gumby with, like ballerina-like flexibility. So, yeah, he's going to make at least a few catches. But I like the fact that Cam Hart is there to match up with him. Like you said, Tom, Notre Dame does have a lot of young guys at the wide receiver position, with the exception of senior slot receiver Chris Tyree. I think this is probably the biggest game that a lot of them I saw were freshmen. This will be one of the biggest games they've played in their entire football careers. So I can see a little bit of nerves walking out into that stadium. It's a nighttime game, so I think they might have a slow start. But I think having someone like Sam Hartman at the helm now is going to take a little bit of that pressure off. He's a veteran. He's a solid as hell QB who's got the arm. And I think he's going to, calm them down a little bit. And then we're going to see Notre Dame starting the second quarter start to slowly churn away at that Ohio State defense. But speaking of the Ohio State defense, they're limiting opponents so far to just 6.7 points per game. Those are like Georgia 2022 numbers. But there's just one problem. They ain't played nobody, Paul. Ohio State has played nobody, so 6.7 points per game does not matter at all. All right, I don't care about that stat. They've played nobody. Their toughest opponent, who? Indiana? Doesn't matter. Listen, everyone's talking about the history of this game because it's such rarefied air, and it's a 6 versus 9 game. Over the past 10 seasons, Irish 3-12 against AP top 10 opponents, but 3-1 when it is at home, and I already think they're the better team. So I think they're going to wipe Ohio State off the floor in this game. I'm taking the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Tom, we're both riding into battle with you here. So I hope we see a win here. But no, I really think that you guys are the better team here, and I do not say that with any hesitation. Moving into the last game here on our card, as Andy said before when we were doing our first segment, this is the Pac-2 matchup. Washington State taking on Oregon State, the final products of a flailing Pac-12. Should be an interesting game, though. Andy, who are you taking here?
This is going to be a really fun one that I definitely recommend having on your second screen while you're watching Ohio State and Notre Dame. This is a quarterback matchup that I'll definitely be watching. Cam Ward for Washington State, 986 yards, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions on the year, fellas. He has been leading an absolutely electric Cougar offense that's averaging 48.3 points per game, 6th in the country. The Oregon State offense is no slouch either, fellas. They're putting up 486 yards a game, as well as 41 points, and they're led by another guy who we have talked about on this show before. We may or may not have said not nice things about, who has found a new home and seems to be a little bit more comfortable. DJ Uiagalelei, I don't know how to say it. Never going to pretend to know how to say it. 630 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the year. Looks comfortable. at Oregon State. Looks comfortable in this offense. For me, the matchup is between those two guys right there under center. And I'm going to take Washington State. I like Washington State at home. I think Ward throws for 300 yards, runs for 100 more, 3 tutties for number 1 in red on Saturday.
All right, Tom.
Well, as Andy said, the Beavers on the road 3-0, the Cougars 3-0. Ukulele again. Nobody knows how to pronounce his name. I'm not sure he deserves to have his name pronounced the right way anymore with the way he's performed on the road over the past several years, losing to those back then freshmen that are now seniors at Notre Dame going into Saturday's game. More shade at Ukulele. Well, he relies on Damian Martinez. He is the offensive catalyst. The Beavers do not throw the ball all that much. He does have 6 touchdown passes, but they run a lot of methodical drives. Akili Arnold has excellent hands for the Beavers. I'm excited to see him, but this is the problem. The Cougars averages 535 yards of offense per game. Cam Ward is awesome. He's fun to watch. He's a dual threat. Good ratio in touchdowns to picks, as Andy mentioned. Problem with Washington State, the team struggles to run the football. Lincoln Victor, Josh Kelly, and Kyle Williams are the entire offense as far as skill players that Ward has at his disposal. They don't have great running backs. Their defense is solid, though. Andy, you talked me out of Washington State a couple of weeks ago. Not happening this time. Washington State improves to 4-0 on the season and moves into the top 20.
Yeah, I'm still kicking myself about that one. Plus 6.5 was just free money, and so was the money line. Apparently, just never trusting the Badgers.
Yeah. So this one, Andy, like you said, this one's going to be super fun. But I'll make mine quick here. It is a quick death here for DJ Uyangalele. I think all 3 of us said his last name differently, but it is what it is. He actually started the season pretty well, and I think he's more comfortable, like you guys said, at it in his time here at Oregon State so far. I don't think there's as much pressure as there was when he was at Clemson. A team who had very recently won a national title before he took over as quarterback. So, there's a lot of pressure. I think he's more calm, making at least slightly better decisions. Although, albeit still not, fantastic ones with those 3 interceptions so far. But yeah, I just like Washington State as a team here. Yes, they both have, pretty massive offenses combined for 1,000 yards. But Washington State has the upper hand there. On the quarterback situation, they have the upper hand there with Cam Ward. He's got 400 yards of throwing offense, average per game this season. Their coach, Oregon State's coach, Johnson Smith, said Oregon State and Washington State belong competing at the highest level. Well, they're going to have to prove it, and I don't think, when I look at this card, that Oregon State is a team that can prove it. I think Washington State is. The Beavers, this is their first big test of the season. They've only played 2 Mountain West teams in an FCS school. So even those 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, that's kind of, put a little asterisk there because he hasn't really played anyone, and those are still very mediocre stats. My player to watch here is Oregon State running back Damian Martinez. In this game last year, he had 111 yards on the ground in this win against the Cougars. Including that game, Martinez has rushed for 100 yards in 9 straight regular season games. I think if Oregon State wants to have any shot in hell at winning this game, you cannot rely on Uyangalele. You have to rely on Damian Martinez. Does he go over 100? Is he going to keep them in the game? I don't know, but regardless, I think even if it's tight, Oregon State falls here to Washington State. I just think they're the better team. That is going to wrap up our show. I love that one, boys. That was a good one. Thank you for watching, everyone. Mr. Hopper here, host of the Brew Party. His links will be down in the description. Mr. Scavetta over here to my right. His links down in the description as well for review and preview. And if you're a Giants fan, you got some Big Blue action as well. Thank you for watching, everyone. Enjoy the games this week. Give us a like, give us a follow if you made it this far. We are an hour and 14 minutes into it. So I know we deserve it at that point, past an hour. But no, thank you for watching, and we'll see everyone next week.